Hello, my name is Will, and this is my first foray into YouTube sharing and making videos about living off the grid in a canvas prospector tent, canvas hot tent, living on a rented piece of land, and starting from scratch this spring up until now. I moved up here, or out here, end of April, and it's now September 22nd, so about 6 months. And I will probably do another video about kind of why I have done something crazy like this and what my plans are for the future, or how this is kind of a step. But I spent last winter, after I decided I wanted to do something like this, did a lot of searching, mostly on YouTube, but other people doing off-grid living stuff, van life things, tiny homes, and eventually people in mostly Canada in these canvas prospector tents. And I'd used them before, so I was relatively familiar. Yeah, end of winter into spring was ordering things and kind of getting things ready, and then finding the land that I had rented. I was looking at some other options, and this place has worked out great. And I think more than half of that time this year has been building different elements, adding things on that I kind of wanted to have, that kind of make it a bit more comfortable and a bit more functional. The whole idea before this was to make it permanent enough that it's comfortable and nice, but not so hard to kind of take down and move around, if needed, or going into the winter I'm going to be somewhere else. So my goal, my intention really with these videos that I'm going to make, hopefully more than just this one, is to just contribute to the community online about off-grid living and self-sufficient living, because I learned so much, different techniques, different products. There's so many people out there across the world that are doing this kind of thing, and I'm really grateful for what I learned, and I want to be a part of educating and inspiring other people. For the most part, for me, this has been pretty easy. Easy is maybe a strange word, but I'm a relatively wildernessy person and pretty comfortable in the outdoors. But once I had all the kind of little bits that I have in place right now that make it functional, it's really not too tough of a life. Maybe just tough enough, keep you busy, keep you going. Anyway, we'll start this first foray, episode 1, into YouTube with a tour of the place and what I have kind of going on here, and then hopefully more videos will follow about different elements and different things that I've done here and that. So hope you enjoy. Stick around. Okay, so I was just talking to you guys from my living room, I suppose. Just have a coffee started here, we'll kind of check it out. This is kind of the hub of the camp, I suppose. So I've put a fire pit there. This place is all moss, really thin soil, and it's really pretty. There's no soil at all, and underneath the moss is just bedrock, granite, Canadian Shield bedrock. So it worked out kind of nice to just carve the moss away and have a fire pit. Nothing big, obviously. And then when all the debris isn't here, you're kind of safe from catching plants and grass and whatnot on the edge. Just got some oven grills and some other barbecue grills there. And do a fair amount of cooking on the fire. And these tables I built just with a chainsaw. The bottoms of each table were pallets. So there's 2 pallets on this big guy. Chopped the ends off and made a little table. And then I had some scrap wood from the fella who owns the property, actually, for the top. And really nice to have, kind of level surfaces for eating and everything. Got some grill ware there. I had these chairs from a garage sale a few years ago. Some outdoor plants. I've used a lot of pallets, mostly for the platform of my tent. I have a few other things. I wanted to make a bed frame for a while, and that hasn't happened yet. And this is all just dead standing. It was standing, not anymore. Red oak, maybe some white oak. Because where I am in central Ontario, there's white oak here. And that's for building, really. And I've only really used a few, like this guy. That's a clove, improvised clove hitch to keep the tarp up nice and high. And then because there's nothing to tie it onto on the bottom, there's just a bunch of hardwood pallet wood, and I think a chunk of poplar that I cut down. So this tarp is great. It's a heavy duty tarp, so it's kind of expensive. I mean, not really that expensive. And it just keeps the whole area dry. Unfortunately, the way it is now, the water goes dripping down onto the campfire, which is whatever. That's fine, but I can easily adjust it. And then here, on sale, some patio lights, outdoor patio lights. That's a little solar panel that should be pointing upwards. And they have an automatic thing, so they just turn on, and it doesn't light up the place like crazy, but it's a nice warm light that just kind of, you can see what's on the table kind of thing, and just kind of lights it up. So this is kind of the middle spot here. Entertaining, cards, fire, good things. We'll go to the back here. So I would eat over at the table, but this is kind of the cook. I kind of call it the cook tent, and water collection system. So there's all kinds of ropes. You can probably see some of them here. Another oak pole to keep the front of this tarp up, because I want the water to drain down to the rain barrels. So you kind of see 2/3 of the tarp on the left is what feeds off into the rain barrel, and then this side, it doesn't protect the whole screened in tent here from the rain, but I just don't really leave anything over there. So it slopes down. There's another, I think there's some big knot up there that's attaching the pole to the center line of the tarp, which goes way over into a big old pine tree that I had to climb, I don't know, probably not that tall, maybe 20 feet, 15-20 feet up to tie that thing down. And we're in Ontario, so bugs are pretty bad, so this screen tent was pretty good, although this year wasn't terrible. So I got this 2-burner stove, which is awesome, to cook things on. And then I had this vanity. It's a bathroom vanity from my aunt that she didn't need, and it had a different sink in it, but it wasn't working. So I crafted a new sink. That's just a storage container from the dollar store, and some pallet wood screwed in there, and tap with a hose that goes over to the rain barrel. That's a fake wasp nest to keep the wasps away, because they're territorial. So dishwater comes out of the rain barrel. The water's not super clean. It just has a lot of vegetation debris in it, even though I have a screen over the barrel. So I haven't been using the rainwater for drinking or for cooking, but I have 2 of these things and another water dispenser jug in the tent for my drinking water, and I just fill these up wherever I am. Really, there's a municipal free water source at the reservoir in town if I want chlorinated water. And there was some other lights in here. This guy's in here now, and just a little dry line for towels and stuff. And then in here is a cedar chest. There's a board over it because when this thing was completely closed, it would get moldy without any air circulation. So this is most of the dishes, and then there's dishes, mugs and cups in there, and utensils and bowls and stuff in there. That's a false one. And then I have some other stoves, burners, if I need those. But yeah, beautiful cedar chest from Quebec, which had some pine, I think, trim added to the outside to kind of keep it nice. So all the cooking stuff besides my cast iron, or wrought iron rather, I have that up in the trees because you got to keep those things oily, and just a lot of stuff around here is dictated by bears. But bears might be here, and you never know. So it's a pretty clean camp. This is a sad looking wood pile. It was relatively decent at the start of the summer, and I haven't even added to it yet at all. And that's going to be a big project for the winter. So there was a lot of, this is a poplar tree on the left, a hardwood tree here, but there was lots of, a handful of dead pine, white pine. The owner of the property didn't want me to cut anything alive, which I didn't want to anyway, but dead pine and dead oak trees. There's quite a bit of that around, so I don't really have any pine left. But even the oak being dead, it's just really solid, tight grained wood. It's not focusing. There we go. Nice red oak there. So I have a chainsaw, which is very needed for this kind of stuff, with building and with and firewood, obviously. So, and then this is just a tarp from Mountain Equipment Co-op that has a center tie out there, so it's kind of a nice little canopy. Ideally, I wouldn't have this tarp set up all year because it's kind of expensive, but what are you going to do? So that's the wood there, just on some pallets, and the winter situation will be quite a bit more robust. So this is the guest room, guest space. Hasn't been on Airbnb yet. And I just noticed that this is split. There's a pole in there. But this, you can hear it. It's paper thin because it's been in the sun all summer, and tents don't really like that. I won't open it up there, but basically, because my tent that I live in, the canvas tent, is small, outdoor gear, camp, just stuff, not food or anything, but it's all staying in there to keep dry and keep out of the weather and to free up space in my tent. So there we go. So 10 by 12 fly just means it's a fly for a 10 by 12 tent. So that's the size of the tent. I will go over another video specifically how this thing works and what you have to do. But yeah, there's a wood stove and there's a cutout in the tent itself with some fire retardant fabric that wraps around the chimney, and then there's a cutout, as you can see in the fly, that just rolls up and you can close it if you're not going to use it. You tie down the tent first and then you tie down the fly, and I have rain gutters here. This is a shorter one, which is kind of nice because there's a bit of debris around the chimney sometimes, and it drops down into a bucket that I just have covered with some screen, and she's full right now. And I have to lug this over to the rain barrel at the cook tent. If it's not full, I'll bring stuff over. So it's just kind of another reserve. So this guy I ordered with a screen door on the front for the bugs in the spring and summer, and it actually came with a screen door on the back, even though that's not what I ordered. That's what they had, so that's what I got. No complaints there. So the tent is tied down to the frame, which is what those 2x4s on the bottom are doing. But the fly and that rock needs to be pulled because there's no ground here. You can't put any stakes in. You have to drill it into the bedrock. So it's tied to juniper bush, some boulders, just what I could find around here, and then this log was the same as the log on the other side that was behind the tent that I didn't want to fall over onto the log, or sorry, onto the tent, but also was good for this purpose. So a rain barrel there, and a few dragonflies getting some sun up on the tent, on the fly. Juniper, common juniper, a shrub on the ground. And yeah, there's lots of this reindeer moss, different, well, reindeer moss is a lichen. Here's some of the bedrock that you get into, super solid, and lots of reindeer moss. Usnea is the genus, I'm pretty sure. Someone can correct me if they happen by the video and want to make sure I know what I'm talking about. So that down in that clearing is the road, or the trail that I accessed the property through, and I just parked my car there, and then I've just through the season of got a nice little path going on. This isn't officially a part of the tour, but I have a friend from work who came and visited and loved it so much that she wanted to stick around for the summer. So she has a tent here. She has a smaller one that she sometimes sleeps in as well. But it's kind of a good view of the whole area. So it's kind of, I don't know, maybe 100 by 200 deep, kind of a clearing, just surrounded by pine trees. That I was able to choose where on the property I was gonna set up, and I love that the road is kind of, you can see the sun through the trees. There's, you know, kind of clearings in the trail there and stuff. So this gives me a feeling of kind of being in the forest still. That's basically the whole camp, but maybe we'll just walk into the forest and take a look at the food situation. So hopefully this is going to focus on me. I'm going to make a selfie stick out of an actual stick and not call it a selfie stick because I'm too old for that. But once you go into the forest here, it changes from open bare rock mostly and pine trees to a bit of wet soil and hardwood trees. It's very, very pretty back here. In the summer, spring and summer, very buggy. So if you didn't have bug spray on or many layers of clothing, you had to run through this. Just gonna find my little path that I've made here. So this is where, oh, I guess there's something else to show you as well. This is where I found a really nice tree for my bear hangs, to hang food away from bears and other creatures. So there's a nice sugar maple that kind of goes up on a big bend like that. So there's a rope up there with a pulley, and then drop the pulley down to put the rope through the pulley that would pull up these barrels. So that's a smaller maybe 35, I think, liter. I think that's what the smaller canoe barrels are, bear barrels for canoeing and that. So that has a bit of food, and that black bag has my wrought iron, cast iron, I always call it wrought iron, dishes, pans and grills and stuff. And then that's actually I think it's a 55-gallon olive barrel from Greece that a lot of people use for rain barrels. But I wanted something big enough to hold bigger items. That thing isn't full, obviously, it'd be too heavy. Even it being as full as it is still pretty heavy for a guy like me to pull up and down. And there's been some modifications to that olive barrel to make it work better, which I'll go into later. So yeah, I drop these during the day if I'm going to be here, and I have my food. So obviously this isn't refrigerated stuff or cold stuff, it's all dried goods. So pastas and rice and flours, spices, vinegar, oil, canned stuff, a bit of dehydrated stuff as well. Yeah, this is the line from the smaller barrel to the tree. Kind of perfected my own knot. These are 100-foot. So I bought 200-foot lengths of rope and then cut them in half. So 50 feet for the pulley rope and 50 feet for the actual rope that brings up and down the barrels. And I meant to set up a hammock back here. I haven't yet, but it's just so pretty back here and so different feeling than up at the main area. And at the back, where the sun's kind of peeking through, there's actually a little creek, kind of a little swampy creek with some beautiful overhanging red maples, and it's really nice. And then you might have heard the train earlier. The other side of the creek is the train tracks. This is just another example of a nice, all kinds of dead oak poles. That might be a maple. I think it's an oak. It's just super solid. Even on the ground, it's super solid, and excellent firewood, but also good for building things. So this is where I go to the bathroom. Some people call these a kaibo or a thunderbox, and it's rough, just built with pallet wood. I don't even think there's any other scrap wood in there. It's purely pallet wood, and then just a little tarp, which I think was actually a bag that something from my tent came in. I just cut the bag open and tied it up to the trees here as a little shelter. I won't open it up, but toilet paper in a little container. That's a new lid. And I dug the hole as deep as I could go, which down here is about 2 feet of soil before you get back into rock again. But with the rain, maybe some microorganisms and stuff in there, it hasn't even filled up yet. I do leave for good chunks of time for work, so I'm not here 100% of the time, which my experience would probably be a little different it certainly would if I was here all the time. And this is the shower station. So that's a shower curtain from my last apartment, and just tied up some rope there and strung it up with some cable or wire, I guess, and then just roughly put some boards in the gaps to make a little platform here. And I have a solar shower, which you might be familiar with. It's a black bag that you fill up, take it down and you fill it up, and I was using rainwater for this, and it heats up in the sun. So you leave it in the sun for a few hours. There's actually a warning on the bag, it can get like boiling hot, so you have to just check it before you turn it on. Then you pull that little red nozzle. There's also a clip on the hose there, and this little stick kind of just holds you have to kind of adjust it, but the little stick kind of holds it there anyway, and pretty good shower. If you fill it up almost full, you can have a pretty lengthy shower, turning the water off when you're not needing to rinse or whatever. But so I think that's really a lot of it. Kind of camp from the forest. Kitchen, living quarters, wood, living room, bathroom, food. This video ended up being quite a bit longer than I expected it to be, but I guess that's cool. Just go back to where we first started the tour here. It's been really nice to have nature this close by. Just another shot of the rain barrel. Got some supports, some oak supports underneath, and then the frame with scrap wood. There's a screen on there. You can kind of see the middle of the tarp now, and it drapes down to the barrel. But maybe I'll just leave you with just that it's been very nice to be this connected to nature this long. I think I've only slept indoors I mean, I've visited some people, COVID friendly of course, but my parents are in my bubble, so I can stay at their house and where I work sometimes. But it's probably still been, I could probably still almost count the times I've slept indoors on my two hands, maybe 15 times since the end of April. So it's been super cool to feel just the changing of the seasons and the weather, and how familiar and constant being able to see the trees and hear the birds and the crickets and really know what's going on with the weather, because you know, you're collecting water and you're collecting sun. I didn't mention that I do have a little solar system in the tent for lighting and for charging. That'll be another video. But yeah, just to leave you with that sentiment, I guess it's been very cool. Just to be with nature for as long as it's been. And last few weeks just made the decision that I'm not going to try and rent a little space for the winter and come back to this in the spring. I've decided to get to a different property that I can access in the winter and continue to do it. So by next April, it'll be a full year in the tent, which will be really cool feeling and a good accomplishment to do that and make it happen in the winter, which I've done with work as a wilderness guide, camping in these tents for a week at a time. So it'll be different, obviously, for the whole winter straight through. But yeah, very, very fun life, and I continue to be just amazed and impressed at how much you can learn and how nature can impact you and just make you feel right at home, but also obviously challenge you and keep you creative and always engaged, which is quite nice. Anyway, we'll do the ending now. Thank you for stopping by, those who have. I'm going to keep this YouTube page open, obviously, and hope to do some more videos before I leave this property, so really in the next month, because I want to have things set up at my new spot before the snow really starts to fly. So I would like to wrap up this season here with some videos about this spot and what's been going on, and then the winter situation will be fairly different. I just procured one item that I'll need for the winter to kind of evolve my life into a colder one and a snowier one. So with that, again, thank you so much for stopping by, and hope to see you again soon.
That was a good one. That was a good one.